What's up, guys? Barn111970. Thank you as always for watching my channel, and let's talk a little bit about silver. Alright, guys, I've been reading over some old comments and some emails regarding gold and silver prices. I can understand the frustration, especially for people that are just getting into gold and silver for the past year. They've seen it only going down. You have to look at things at the long haul. And that's why you got to really be careful where you get your information from, especially if you're watching the mainstream media on the television. Because they only give you little bits of information, and they don't show the long-term effects. Like, for example, the mainstream media will only tell you in the past couple of months how gold and silver has decreased. But they don't tell you, if you stretch it out over the past decade, how far gold and silver have risen, even with the correction. But one thing I really want to talk about, and this gets me a little bit frustrated, but I can understand from people because they base things on the past and they think it's going to be relevant to the present day and the potential future. And that's where I'm talking about regarding to the 1980 prices. People have to stop comparing what happened in 1980 to what could potentially happen now. Now, that doesn't guarantee it can't happen, but let's put it in perspective. First of all, in 1980, we didn't have as much money printing as we do now, which means the dollar had a lot more value. In 1980, your dollar bought a lot more than it can today. I mean, just look at the prices of things like milk. Look at the prices of oil. Look at the prices of gas. Look at the food prices. Look at stamp prices. Your dollar went further. As they continue to print, and you see with the quantitative easing, which they are not going to stop, no matter how many times they tell you they're thinking about stopping. Well, I could think about jumping off a cliff all I want. Until I do it, what does that mean? So the more money they print, the less purchasing power the dollar has. And that can't last forever. So they're going to keep printing money until there is no other alternative and the game is over. So that is going to greatly affect precious metals in the future. Because if and when the dollar does finally give up and give in and collapse, you're going to see rises in precious metals. Now, also, in the 1980s, we had less people that could purchase. The Chinese were not allowed to buy, as citizens, gold and silver. It was outlawed. We didn't have the internet, so it wasn't as easy for people to get information. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have cell phones. So the average person didn't really know about this. And you couldn't go, because there was no eBay, to purchase things online. So if you didn't have the knowledge and you didn't have a nearby store that sold gold and silver, you weren't buying it. So I understand that people want to compare 1980 to today. And so many people are saying, well, look what happened in 1980, how it rose so high, and then it plummeted and stayed that way for decades. So that means it could happen now. Could it happen? It's not impossible. Will it happen? Considering how today's economy is so much different, the world is a smaller place now as far as you can get information all over the world now in a split second. Back in the 80s, they didn't have the laptops. They didn't have the solar panels. They didn't have the digital cell phones where they used up a lot of silver. So it's just different times. And especially when you're talking about how they are printing. I mean, look how much money they were printing in the 1980s, and look what they're doing each month now with quantitative easing. Purchasing power has diminished and will continue to diminish. And it can't last forever. I mean, what's going to happen? In another 10 years, a candy bar is going to be $5, $10? At a certain point, somebody's going to say, well, I'm not paying $5 or $10 for a candy bar. So these things come to an end. All you have to do is research history. Fiat currencies have a shelf life. They don't last forever. So regardless of what the mainstream media is going to tell you, regardless of what you hear on some people's channels that don't like gold and silver, the dollar is not king. It is going to lose its value. And even if dollar was king, look throughout the history of kings. They don't last very long. They tend to die. They tend to get killed. They tend to get overthrown. It's very rare that a king lasts throughout its ruling time. So if you want to believe in the dollar, if you want to believe in other fiat currencies around the world, you are more than welcome to. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your financial future. I'm here to put things in proper perspective and keep it real. So that's why I stack and continue to stack and will continue to stack physical gold and silver. Because unless you view the government as an honest running system, unless you view the people that control the banks and the corporations as people with integrity, unless you view the entire monetary system as a perfect plan to continue the way it's going, and you think it's been successful and the economy's getting better, then yes, stick with the paper and stick with the dollar and stick with the euro and the yuan and all those other fiat currencies. If you question any of those things, if you question the media, if you question the government, if you question the corporations, if you question the banks, you question the Federal Reserve and their practices, and you don't think their best interest is for you, then to protect yourself while you can. And to me, one of the best ways that I am protecting myself is with the physical gold and silver. What you do is ultimately up to you. So you could like this message, you could not like this message, but it doesn't change the fact that some things just are what they are. You don't have to believe in air, you don't have to like air for it to be there and know that it's useful. So what you think about physical gold and silver and where it's going, that's for your own mind to make up its decision. Stop comparing it to 1980. It's a different time period. It's not going to be the same. If you want to get scared out of the market because of fear, well, if you use your emotions, you're going to be disappointed in the long run. Stay calm, stay focused. Remember why you originally stacked gold and silver. Don't let any kind of hater or negative person try and dissuade you from what you decided to do. And I look at it this way, one other reason that I've purchased gold and silver. All that money that I spent on the physical gold and silver would have been spent somewhere else. I would have went to extra movies, maybe out drinking, partying, bought some gadgets that you know would be obsolete at this point. Just imagine between, like, for example, 2006 and 2010, if you bought a cell phone or a laptop or a home computer or some other gadget. How many of those things do you think people are still using at this point? So that's money thrown away, money you'll never see again. So for me, it's almost like putting it in the bank without having to deal with banks. That money, even with the corrections, is still maintaining my wealth. And it's not going to stay this way forever. They want to scare as many people out as possible. The day that banks and the Federal Reserve and countries stop taking gold in for their reserves, like when China's buying tons of gold every year, when they stop doing that, then I'll stop doing it. Until then, I'm going to follow what the countries do, not what a bunch of individuals who may have a personal vendetta against the metals for whatever reason do. What you do is ultimately up to you. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace, peace, and peace. Now I want a piece of pie. Good night.